What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about what I would do to fix E3 and even Summer Game Fest for 2022. So I am not a man, as I said in the last video. I'm not a person who will just provide, well, sometimes I am, but I really, for this issue, I try not to be. I don't like to just, complain and just moan online, right, and offer zero solutions, especially in this situation when I actually have solutions, when I have things that I really think would work and would do really, really well, and would give us an amazing, not just event, not just a 3-day period, but an entire month, multiple months of shows, okay? Now, again, in yesterday's video, I really complained quite a bit about E3. I think a lot of people understood where I was coming from, especially those that watched the video. A lot of people that criticized me in the comments there did not, I guarantee you, watch the entire video because I addressed multiple things that I was combated with in the comments yesterday. I addressed multiple of those in that video. So I'm not going to, continue on and talk about how much I hated this year's E3 and even Summer Game Fest I thought was okay. It wasn't like good or wasn't bad. I'm not going to complain about it too much in this video. I'm going to offer solutions, okay? If you guys do like that, make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, give this video a like. Definitely will help it out, right? There's going to be a lot of dislikes, and that's okay. That's okay, but as long as everybody's being okay with each other. But definitely leave a like would help me out. And if you want to follow me on any of my other social medias, I have a Twitter, I have a second channel, we have a Patreon, YouTube join button, all of that stuff in the description. And obviously the join button is next to the subscribe button as well. Okay, it's pretty easy. You blow the whole thing up. You don't have E3. And Summer Game Fest is interesting because what Jeff Keighley, I think, wants it to be, I'm actually extremely in support of, and I think that it could work. Really, let me say this. Okay, here's how I would organize it, and here's what I think they should do for next year, okay? Remember what last year's Summer Game Fest was trying to be? If you do that, but actually make it good, that's pretty much it. Now, I'll explain a little bit more, but that is boiled down what I would do. Summer Game Fest last year was literally an umbrella that Jeff Keighley said, okay, we're going to call this thing a Summer Game Fest. And anybody, it could be your mom, it could be your stepsister, anybody who has something to say and something to announce, we're going to put it underneath our umbrella and we're going to call it part of Summer Game Fest, okay? Now, did that work? No, it failed. It failed. He announced like 3 games maybe on his own. He included Gamescom. He included Sony events that were not his. He included Ubisoft events that were not his. Again, I respect the heck out of Jeff Keighley, but it just did not work last year. However, the idea of what he was trying to do, I think that's how you do it. Now, I don't want to be evil. I don't want to be, lacking of soul. Somebody, Alex, actually, a commenter who's a really amazing guy. He comments very thoughtful comments on a lot of my videos. He was saying how, a big part of E3 is what sometimes even you don't see. Yeah, and I completely agree with that. A big part of E3 is the behind-the-scenes stuff, having everybody come together for an event, have everybody be talking to each other. Indies have people interview, and all these interviews, not from IGN and not from Polygon, not those garbage sites, from other people, right? And that's what E3 can be, and you lose a lot of that when you only do it online. I 100% agree with that, and it does. And I will give you guys that bone. If that's part of the reason why E3 cannot die, I understand that. And so I guess to follow me through with my plan, it does sound evil where it's like just drop that. I would say there may be another way of getting that to happen. You know what I mean? So, and let me just pitch that first. Maybe have an event somewhere. And this is so far out that it'll never happen because it really only benefits the little guys. It benefits the industry in more of a personable way. Doesn't really do anything for money, and therefore it can't happen. But the ESA, they're so powerful. They're in control of all this different stuff. Throw an event, a couple-day event every summer in August or September, and invite anybody that wants to go. Obviously you have to register and you have to be approved, but indies can go, anybody can go, and it's basically just like a meet and greet. It's a get-together for developers. There's no new game announcements because those have already happened. The games were already announced. The demos already happened, right? Do that first, in June, July, half of August, whatever, and then throw an event where everybody can come together, almost like what Game Awards is what Jeff Keighley wants it to be, right? A celebration. Have it be a celebration for anybody, big and small. Because, yeah, you do leave a lot of indies out, a lot of independent creators and stuff like that when you don't have an event like E3, okay? It's not the greatest patchwork, but it is somewhat of a patchwork. So, what I would do, I will say you do need organization. So maybe E3 does live. Maybe E3 stays around. Maybe Jeff Keighley gains even more power. Okay, maybe becomes like a dictator, and Summer Game Fest becomes the main thing. There needs to be communication, because what I think was lacking last year, and last year I wouldn't even blame all that much on him or even the developers and publishers, because the stuff around the world, nobody was ready. I think in a normal year, normal world where games are being made, there's consistent progress, there's nothing to worry about, I think if you had some sort of governing body that went to as many developers and publishers as they could and said, okay, we want a show, some sort of presentation of your stuff this summer. We are not going to do it in a 3-day stretch of time. We're not going to have horrible planning. We're going to have it be planned. We're not going to have you guys overlap. We're going to give everybody some space, but we want you guys to do it. Or, maybe in a perfect world where there's no holding your hand, right? Maybe you just let these publishers go on their own, and maybe they do overlap, maybe they don't. But I think the perfect gaming summer would be every week, every other week, you'll wake up and okay, this Friday, this Thursday, this Tuesday is going to be a show. Square Enix goes this week. Then 2 weeks, Ubisoft said they're going to go. Then in another 2 weeks, EA. Then Sony. Then Microsoft. If you had that, it's the same thing as E3. See, one of the things, I didn't say this in yesterday's video, this is a new thing I thought of. One thing that's interesting about E3, right? And how I say it, too. It doesn't need to be in a 3-day stretch. You can spread it out. You don't need them burying each other, and especially when there's bad planning and communication as well, right? So one thing that popped into my head was, think about what was shown at this year's E3. How many things needed to be shown the day that they were? If you put Ubisoft's show in 3 weeks from now, okay, and you didn't call it E3, so maybe expectations drop for it. Maybe they're able to do a new thing. Maybe they can't do something, but, whatever, okay? Say you do it in 3 weeks. Could they still do the exact same show that they did, last week? Yes, because none of the games that they announced came out in the next, 2-3 weeks. There were some, like Square Enix, really quickly mentioned the Yuffie DLC, and that's because it came out like 4 days before, okay? If you do it like 4 weeks after it comes out, maybe you can't have. So there's some things, yes, I do understand, would change. But a lot of even Microsoft, that's probably the best one to go to, right? Xbox Bethesda was massive. They announced 30 games. They announced so many. How many, though, come out tomorrow? How many come out next week? If you did that show a week earlier, if you did that show a week later, if you did that show a month later, how much really would change from that presentation? Not much at all. Maybe 2%, maybe 5% max. You know what I mean? So there's really no excuse why things can't be stretched. So look, again, I get it. I get what people are so into E3, where it's, well, Alex, during this 3-4 day stretch, you're just going to get bam, 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 bam. I get that. But I really don't think we need that. I think you could do it better. And I think also, don't you want it to be stretched? Now we're done. July is going to be so dead, it's not even funny. There's games that come out in July, some, very few. There's some games that come out in August. Actually, quite a few games come out in August. But in terms of announcements and stuff, yes, there's Sony's event, and yes, there's EA's. But you know what? That's actually what makes it kind of special. We did E3. And now in a couple weeks, we know Sony is probably going to do something. Then a couple more weeks, end of July, July 22nd, EA is going to go. Imagine literally that, just spread out the E3 stuff. So you have EA that goes in July, end of July. Imagine Sony goes early July, okay? There's that staggering right there. And won't that be fun? You get to build for Sony, hit us with Sony, talk about Sony for a week, then go into pre-EA. Talk about EA, get EA, bam, then talk about it for another. Then what if WB Games went next, right? Think about that. Isn't that better? I 1000% think that's better. Now, again, you need to have communication. You can't just have them hitting, because you would end up with last year. You'd end up with, there was stuff last year, but there'd be a long gap of time in between. There was stuff in June. Sony's event was in June. I don't even remember. I think it was over a full month after that. Then Ubisoft went. Then it was like a full month or month and a half later, then Microsoft went. But they were all very unorganized. They picked themselves. Jeff Keighley didn't dictate when to do it. And I like that freedom. I like their ability to do whatever. But, and you could do that. But if you want organization, and I understand that, you can still do that. You can go to these, you can still have the ESA, E3, right? You could have Jeff Keighley. You could have them going to these people or these publishers, these higher ups. And you can say, look, we don't want to do where we're all in a little thing. We don't want to do where we're forcing you. Also think about that. Would Konami, remember Konami pulled out of E3. Would Konami be ready to go in July? Maybe. Maybe not, but maybe. Would they be ready to go in August? Same thing, right? Well, go to them and say, when do you feel comfortable going? EA, when do you feel comfortable going? You don't want to go during E3? Great. Nobody really does. Sony doesn't want to. Nintendo pulled out like a decade ago. Maybe not a full decade, but they've been out for a long time. They came back for some reason. You know what I mean? It's like nobody really wants to go to E3. These big publishers, they don't want to go, okay? So, why make them? Let them do their own thing. Spread it out. And again, the reason I bring in Summer Game Fest is because you can use, Summer Game Fest, the plot of that, the plot of the story, or literally, I guess the message behind what Jeff Keighley has said over the last 2 years. What I'm describing is literally that. It's just he hasn't executed it well. And I'm not saying that I'm better than him. I'm better than you guys. I'm not better than anybody. We're equal. Okay. I've always believed that. I've always said that. All I'm saying is I just don't think it's been executed. I don't think E3 was executed well. I don't think Summer Game Fest was executed well. I do think those things can be good on their own, and maybe we don't need my plan. But I think my plan, if you gave me all the power in the world and we were able to pull this off, I just think it would be much better. I really do. I don't see how you would not like waking up every week, and because, I say every week because, yeah, there's the 5, 6, 7 big publishers, but, we had that, what was it, the calming stream. There was that small indie, I talked about this in the past videos. There was that smaller indie stream that happened during E3. That was fun. Do that. Do that the same week as another one, or do that a week that you don't have anything else. Just put it in there. And that way, again, every week, every 2 weeks, you always know you're going to get something. The planning needs to be there for sure, but you'd always know. You wouldn't be missing out on any. E3 could die, and you wouldn't miss it at all, because E3 is just a name. E3 is a name, and it's an idea that all of these things can come together in a 3-day stretch. And as we've seen with planning, as we've seen with communication, as we've seen with them being behind the times with co-streaming and Nintendo and stuff like that, it's just garbage. Just blow it all up and let it die. It was canceled last year. It should have been canceled this year. They just shouldn't have brought it back. Let it go and do something new. I think, and this is the last thing I'll say, right? A lot of the things that I'll pitch, like when I talk about Horizon or God of War, like it should be on PS5 and stuff like that, some of the arguments I make are, I understand why people may be hesitant to see what I'm saying, or they don't agree with me, because I'm talking about potential that you can't actually see, right? You can see Horizon looks good. Forbidden West, you could see it looks good. But when I'm telling you, well, it could look better, this part is missing, but I can't show it to you because it's not there. It's kind of in our minds. I get that that's hard to follow. And I'm not calling you dumb. I'm not calling I'm not saying I'm again so much smarter that you guys can't comprehend. No, it's I get that not seeing it makes it very hard to follow. Same thing with this. We know what E3 is. We know that E3 can be good because there's been amazing E3s. There's been amazing conferences at E3. I said Microsoft's conference was good. I said Nintendo's conference was good. I know there's been good conferences. What I'm pitching, or I'm saying, is it's again the Max Lord thing. Life is good, but it could be better. E3 has been good. It wasn't good this year. It was not existent last year. It's been bad for 5+ years. I'd say 2016 was really good, so maybe 2017. But it's been bad, okay? It can be better. We don't have to accept. People always tell me that, oh, Alex, don't accept what we get. You can always go more, right? If I'm so positive on something, they're like, wow, you're way too positive. Maybe you could talk about how it can be even better. But then when I do this stuff, I get all this hate because I'm pitching a world or a scenario where we can have a summer that's 1,000 times better, but because it doesn't exist, people are like, well, we have what we have. Why don't you just be grateful? Don't come at me with grateful. We pay for the games. We pay for these developers and publishers. We should dictate, not them. You see what I'm saying? It is about potential. It's about something you can't fully see. But I think, again, going into next year, E3 2022, with a 4-day thing where half the developers and publishers in the world don't show up, the other half don't want to be there, the bad communication, it ends up disappointing a lot of people. Why even do it? Just do a Summer Game Fest thing, but don't do it exactly how Jeff Keighley is putting it together. Do his motto, but don't do it the way he's doing it, and then bam, you're done. So I know this is a long video. Thank you all so much for sticking with me, if you did stick with me to the end, and I'm sure there'll be dislikes, I'm sure there'll be comments talking about things that I did say in the video, but because people can't watch more than, 4 minutes of a video, they can't comprehend it, okay? So, and that is a shot at people and their low attention spans. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up. Leave the video a like, would definitely help. Again, all my other social media stuff is in the description if you guys want to check out the Twitter, my second channel. We do have a Twitch as well, and also Patreon and YouTube memberships, okay? Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you all on the next video.